Hello everyone and welcome to this week's Bleach arc review. Today, I'm going to be talking about Deicide, which is the conclusion to the Arrancar saga. So, getting right into the positives, I think all of the fights in this arc were tremendous. So you had Isshin, Urahara, and Yoruichi versus Eisen, and that was really cool. Finally getting to see Isshin do some stuff after several hundred chapters since he killed, what was his name again? Kingfisher, Grandfisher, whatever that loser's name was. Getting to see him, well, not go all out, but getting to see him fight, especially against Eisen, was really neat. And we basically got, Urahara with his massive IQ competing against Aizen's big IQ, and Urahara is essentially the only person in the entire series who Eisen thinks may have a greater intellect than him. So seeing those two compete in strategy was pretty amazing. Having Urahara fire something at him with his Zanbakuto. I forget what that attack is called from Benihime. But him shooting Eisen, and then Eisen, flash stepping over and stabbing him. But, oh, surprise, it's actually the fucking blow-up Gi guy that I introduced right at the beginning of the Hueco Mundo arc. So, you've been owned. And then Urahara pulling out all of these Hados and stuff to try and bind Eisen and things like that. It was all really cool. And then, of course, we got to see Yoruichi doing, what she does. So that was pretty cool. And while that was going on, we sort of got, this thing on the side with Ichigo fighting Gin, which had sort of, it was more Gin testing Ichigo to see if he was ready to face Eisen. And we got to see Gin's Bankai finally. I forget what the name of it was, but it's actually seeing an 8-mile long sword sounds really dumb, but the way that Kubo depicts it is this flash of lightning that you only see the whole thing occasionally, and it just cuts the entirety of fake Karakura in half in an instant. That's so good. And the way that he introduced it, where Gin was hey, it's 500 times faster than that. It's holy shit. Now, of course, he was lying about this, which we'll get into later. But I just thought, the whole sequence with him using his Bankai was amazing. And then, of course, we have the grand finale of Ichigo versus Eisen. Seeing, I guess they call him Dangai Ichigo, not because that's what the form is called, but, he did training in the Dangai. I also really liked that training with, holy shit, Zangetsu. Oh my god, I can't believe I was forgetting his name there for a second. The training with Zangetsu. And Zangetsu's form in that training sequence was actually really cool. The melding between him and the other Zangetsu. That was really neat. Just seeing Ichigo and Eisen go at it, and Ichigo catching Aizen's sword, which was a great callback, and just sort of their clash destroying the landscape around them. It was all really cool. Now, getting into Eisen, I do like most of his forms. The only one I didn't really like was his second to last one, where he's this butterfly thing with no eyebrows or whatever. I didn't care for that. But the chrysalis form, and the form right after it, where he's dressed up as some kind of 70s rock musician. And then his final form, what do people usually call that? Fourth fusion, or his monster form or something. Whatever it was, it's fucking cool. And I especially like the way he throws around Saros and stuff. That was really cool. Now Gin. Gin's a big player in this arc. First thing about Gin that I'm going to say is that he did something that I am a very big fan of. If you've watched some of my Record of Ragnarok videos, you know that I love it when an anime character lies about what their ability does. Because anime characters sort of have this really bad habit of explaining their ability to their opponent, which then allows their opponent to figure out how to beat them. Gin lied about what his Bankai did. Not to fuck with Ichigo, because with Ichigo, it was more of like a psychological tactic, but him lying to Eisen about it was for the purpose of being able to get close to Eisen and use his Bankai against him to try and kill him. So that was really neat. Second thing about Gin is that Gin probably has one of the best deaths in the series. Like, the whole way it was done, with the flashback and his final thoughts and how Rangiku's there. I thought it was all really well done. And the last big positive thing I have to say is that this feels like it would be a very satisfying end to the series. You have Eisen being defeated and sealed away, Ichigo has successfully saved his friends and Soul Society, and now that he's lost his powers, he can go about living like a relatively normal life with the knowledge that his friends have been protected. You know, that's it's like a bittersweet ending. It's pretty good, I would say. And for future reference, I will be comparing this to the ending, like the final ending of the series at the end of Thousand Year Blood War. Now getting into the negatives, I do have some nitpicks. The first of which, why the hell didn't Isshin go Shikai? We see him use Shikai in Everything But the Rain. And as you know, with Shikai and Bankai, they multiply your power. So when he's fighting someone as strong as Eisen, why the hell wouldn't he use Shikai, let alone Bankai? It just doesn't make a lot of sense. Like, when you're fighting someone that dangerous, you think you would at least, if not go all out, go at like 50%, I guess? I don't know. Another thing is that the power scaling is kind of out the fucking window. When you have Eisen, who is able to take on most of the Gotei 13 by himself, including some of its most powerful members. And then Isshin, who is not even in Shikai, is able to flick one finger and send him flying through several buildings. Now, I know Aizen's line about reaching his limit is kind of like up to interpretation, him saying he's at his limit as a Shinigami. What exactly does that mean? Like, is Isshin actually, like, pushing him to his limit, or is he just talking about how he's about to transform? I don't know. But just felt like it was all kind of out of whack when you have Eisen basically shitting all over most of the Gotei 13, and then you have three people who, for the most part, aren't even among its most powerful members, if you don't account for Urahara being super smart, and even then he doesn't use his Bankai. They're able to put up a much better fight against him. Also, why the hell didn't he use Kyoka Suigetsu against these people? I don't understand. That was part of why he was able to beat the Gotei 13 so easily. I know it's like, oh, I'm transforming because of the Hogyoku. I don't need to worry about you guys anymore because I'm just on a completely different level. But before his transformation, I mean, in that case, why even bother using it against the Gotei 13 in the first place? It just doesn't really make a lot of sense. And the last thing, I guess, is just that Gin has really bad timing. Like, you couldn't have decided to do that earlier, before he's already turned into this unkillable god monster that's able to defy the established rules of Soul Society, like when he destroyed that vacuum thing in the Dangai. I don't know. Now, we're going to get into three big issues I have with this arc. The first one is that Final Getsuga Tenshu feels like a huge ass pull. Isshin pulled that out of nowhere. I know with Vasto Lorde, you had a little bit of foreshadowing for it earlier on. You didn't have much mention of it after that, but there was still enough with the way White was talking about, the king and the horse, that there was something that he would do. With the Final Getsuga Tensho, it's Ichigo and Isshin going through the Dangai, And Ichigo's like, oh my god, how are we going to beat Eisen? And Ishin's like, alright, Ichigo, I'm going to have you learn something called the Final Getsuga Tensho, this thing that no one has ever referenced before in the series, and no one will ever use again, despite how fucking powerful it is. Yeah. I don't know. And it kind of feels like if Ichigo was going to get his Shinigami powers back eventually, then, like, what was even the point of him losing it at the end of this arc? I don't know. Next problem. The fight is way too short. You cannot have hundreds of chapters of build-up to this. And then especially have the extra build-up just from this arc and, like, some of the stuff right before it. And have the fight happen in, like, 3 or 4 chapters. That's way too short. That's ridiculous. The last thing is also about Eisen. Eisen's defeat feels very weird. First of all, once again, why didn't you use Kyoka Sugetsu? No, you saying at, like, the 3rd or 4th to last chapter, I had a feeling not using Kyoka Sugetsu against you would end up benefiting me at some point. No, you can't just do that, like, 200 and something chapters after the fact. No, I'm not going to accept that. Eisen's whole shtick is that he's, like, 5D chess, 7,000 IQ. I've planned everything ahead of time. I've known about you since before you were even born. And yet somehow he's defeated because he didn't think that Ichigo would end up being as strong as he was. Like, what? What? That just... I don't... That sounds like really lazy writing to me. Like, you just couldn't think of a better way to defeat Eisen other than, oh, Ichigo got stronger than he thought he would. The villain underestimated the shonen protagonist. I would prefer... It would be much, much better... instead of having Ichigo use this giant, ridiculously powerful attack that weakens Eisen enough for Urahara's seal to kick in. It would be better to have Urahara, or even Ichigo, realize that there is some kind of flaw in Eisen's plan, other than him just underestimating Ichigo, which is something that's completely out of character for him. He was fucking... had enough foresight to put, like, a shield against the back of his neck in case someone like Ichigo would try to attack him from behind, but he just underestimated how powerful he would be. So if Ichigo or Urahara discovered some kind of flaw in his plan, some kind of oversight, this minor detail that would allow the whole thing to fall apart, I think that would have been way better. But I feel like Kubo wrote himself into a corner with how powerful he was making Eisen, and couldn't really think of a better way to beat him. But yeah, I guess that's it. Next week, I'm going to be reviewing the Lost Agent arc, also known as the Fullbringer arc, which is probably the most polarizing arc in Bleach. There are a lot of people that say it's amazing, and there are a lot of people that say it's steaming dog shit. You'll find out what I think about it next week. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. I'm doing Bleach reviews every week until I finish the series. If you enjoy discussing Bleach with other people, you should check out my Discord server. I'll have a link in the description below. If you enjoy other series such as Record of Ragnarok, Chainsaw Man, Jujutsu Kaisen, Kengan Omega, and Solo Leveling, I do videos on those series as well, so if you're interested, check out my channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you around.